The first article I wanted to look at is titled Robert Jeffress, You'll Work in Heaven, but Without Any Government Regulations. This is by Hemant Mehta on the Friendly Atheist website, so let's give it a read and see what it says. Pastor Robert Jeffress, a longtime defender of Donald Trump, no longer has a regular news outlet to spew his horrible opinions now that Lou Dobbs has been fired. Forgot about that. Lou Dobbs was fired. And that's where Robert Jeffress did most of his appearances, was on Lou Dobbs' show. I completely forgot Lou Dobbs' show was shut down. Damn, he was canceled by Fox News without a word. Talk about cancel culture, right? But nobody said anything about it when Dobbs was fired. Anyway, I guess Jeffress doesn't have that outlet anymore, Lou Dobbs. But he does, from my understanding, he might be getting his own show on Fox News in the near future. If he hasn't already, we'll see. Anyway, let's keep reading. Speaking with Jim Baker, a few weeks ago, Jeffress made up a bunch of facts about heaven that sound downright awful. Apparently, everyone in heaven has to work. Still. But it's okay because everyone will love it. There's a clip that goes with it, so let's give the clip a watch and see what he had to say.
We're also going to work in heaven. Now, that may even sound more like hell to some people, working in heaven. But remember, God created us to be workers. Work was a gift from God before the fall of Adam and Eve.
When? What job did God assign to Adam and Eve? I don't remember that. God did assign one job to Adam and Eve. Name the animals. That's the job that I remember. Was there another job they were supposed to do? Eat fruit and be merry. That's all I remember. Where is he pulling this from, if not his ass?
God meant for us to find fulfillment in our work. He's a worker. He created us to be workers.
Yeah, and I want to point something out here. So a lot of Christians have deviating ideas about what heaven is like and deviating ideas about hell. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't believe in hell at all. Which, by the way, hell is a fabrication. It was made up centuries after the Bible was written. It isn't in the Bible. It was added later. And our modern depictions, our modern perceptions of hell, our modern ideas of what it is, they came from a book called Divine Comedy, written by Dante, from a chapter in that book called Inferno. And it's commonly referred to as Dante's Inferno. And it talks about, the devil and just the whole 9 yards. It draws out the hell that we have come to know and love today. That's where our idea of hell came from. But we don't have that with heaven. There was no book like that for heaven. People just kind of make up whatever they want to fucking make up about it. Just like Jeffress is doing here. Some Presbyterians believe that you merge with God and become one. And that is heaven. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that there's like a location up in the sky where angels kind of sit there and peer down at you and watch everything you do. Heaven is different for everybody. And if there's one thing I've learned through all of my studies about cults and religions and everything, it's that if you find a subject upon which there is a lot of deviation, like this, like nobody can make up their mind about what heaven is like, that's probably because the Bible is vague about it and they're just making shit up. That's exactly what Jeffress is doing here. He's just making shit up about it.
But in heaven, the new heaven and the new earth, all of the things that drain the joy out of our work, bodies that grow tired.
Okay, bodies that grow tired, understandable. Give me another. What's another thing?
Strained relationships.
Okay, yeah. Strained relationships, I get it. Strained relationships can really drag you down when you're trying to work, right?
Relationships, government regulations.
Whoa! One of these things is not like the other. Government regulations, huh? Interesting. Government regulations make work worse for people? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now, Robert Jeffress? Give me a break, man. Government regulations are there to protect workers. All of the government regulations in place right now have been paid for in blood. They're there because somebody died for that rule to exist. We shouldn't be storing nuclear waste next to the break room. Well, guess what? Somebody died that way for that rule to be put in place. We should have a 40-hour work week. Guess what? Somebody worked themselves to fucking death to get that 40-hour work week. to get that enshrined in law, or enshrined in culture anyway. Every rule that we have, every regulation that exists was paid for in blood. Government regulation isn't a pain in anybody's ass except for rich people. The only people who suffer from more government regulation are the people who have to deal with it directly, like business owners and billionaires and things like that. Workers don't have to deal with it. But I love how he slips his little political bent in there on you.
Relationships, government regulations, all those things will be removed, and we're going to enjoy work like God intended us to enjoy.
You know, honestly, I always got the impression that heaven was whatever you wanted it to be. It would be your personal perfect heaven. Now, I don't believe in heaven personally. I think it's completely ridiculous. It's complete bullshit. And even as a Jehovah's Witness, this is not what I believed. This is the only thing that could possibly even barely make sense. Everybody has their own personalized heaven that is personalized to them, and anything that they could possibly want in that heaven is there. Anything or anybody or whatever it is, it's all just there instantly as soon as they want it. That's what I assumed heaven was. But Jeffress has his own ideas about it, I guess. Anyway, let's read the article by Hemant Mehta and see what it says. This is a quote from the video. "We're also going to work in heaven. All of the things that drain the joy out of our work, bodies that grow tired, strained relationships, government regulations, all those things will be removed, and we're going to enjoy work like God intended us to enjoy it." This is Hemant Mehta. "Terrific. Heaven is a giant Amazon warehouse where we won't be able to take pee breaks, but it's okay because we won't even have to pee. Yay? I've never heard of anyone clamoring for an afterlife where they had to do hard labor for eternity, but that's what Christians have to look forward to, I guess. It's easy for someone like Jeffress, whose job basically consists of perpetuating right-wing talking points on cable news when he's not doing it in front of his church, to act like work is nothing but joy. But for people who have to work jobs they tolerate just to pay the bills, and who can't get a higher salary because Republicans and a handful of Democrats refuse to raise the federal minimum wage, there's nothing joyous about this future." That's a really good point. Jeffress, this is good evidence that Jeffress is completely out of touch with basically everybody else in the fucking country. He has no idea what it's really like to work a job that you can't fucking stand. Can't stand to look at the face of that fucking building one more time. You would rather stick a knife in your own chest than to have to walk through those automatic doors one more time. I understand that fucking visceral hatred, but it's pretty clear to me that Robert Jeffress doesn't. Now, that being said, I am lucky in the fact that I have a job that I don't viscerally fucking hate. I like doing my job generally. And YouTube isn't my only job. I was a software engineer for 6 years before YouTube. And I do some of that now. I host websites a little bit and stuff. I also run an Etsy shop with 13 3D printers, printing, retro game stands for people all over the country, 24/7. There is a printer running at all hours of the day, 7 days a week, in my office. So I have a full-time job that is, not just YouTube. It's legitimate and it's difficult. And I actually don't hate it. I'm entertained by it. I like doing that job. I can sit around changing nozzles and, fixing extruder gears and unspooling filament. I could do that shit all day. I really like doing it. I just put on like David Pakman in my ear and listen to it while I do the work. So I definitely understand what a hard day's work is because I still put that shit in every day. But I don't hate my job for the first time in my life. It's just Robert Jeffress doesn't seem to have the concept of hating your job, apparently. Anyway, let's keep reading. This is Hemant Mehta. And did you catch the part about government regulations will be gone in heaven? Those regulations are some of the only things protecting workers from bosses who would easily make workers' lives worse if they could. But in heaven, apparently, there are no rules. Good luck with that. It's not clear what the point of these jobs are either. To make money? To get a promotion? Why can't God just poof the products into existence? Why can't the people relax while God does the work? Haven't they earned it? Well, Kat Kerr detailed a body parts warehouse that people can go to if they need like an arm or a leg replacement or a kidney replacement or something. There's an angel waiting up there to replace the body part once the requisition order comes in. So somebody's got to man the body parts warehouse, right? Who's gonna feed the stomachs? The extra stomachs laying around in the body parts warehouse, they'll just starve to death if you don't feed them something, right? Not to mention the intestines and the extra rectums. Like, what are you going to do with all this stuff? You have to feed all this stuff. So, anyways, somebody up there is working, and it sure as hell isn't God, I guess. Back to Hemant Mehta. Also, what the hell are his citations for all this? There are none, because like all pastors, he's just making up this version of the afterlife. He says it with enough confidence that gullible Christians might fall for it. I sometimes get pushback whenever I post about Kat Kerr. Oh, that's funny. He mentioned Kat Kerr here, too. I didn't read this far into the article. Who has her own specific theories about heaven. That it's unfair to pick on her because she's clearly delusional. I always say she's not on the fringe like many readers think she is. Here's proof of that. Jeffress is one of the most powerful Baptist preachers in the country, and he's spewing the same made-up bullshit about the afterlife. Yeah, I've heard people say that Kat Kerr is on the fringe, too. That's just factually incorrect. She's not. And I actually came across some clips that I wanted to show you guys, but I was going to play them on this podcast. I decided to make a whole video out of them. But I'll give you a sneak peek. When I started looking at Kat Kerr, I had no idea who she was. I didn't make any connection to anything I'd ever seen of her. But watch this clip.
So right now, at this moment, we take authority over Dorian.
Do you guys remember this clip? This went viral recently. This is Kat Kerr. I had no idea that she was the, Hurricane Dorian woman with her Kerr stick.
Has no right off the coast of this state or anywhere. And we hit that storm to the east right now. And I'm going to do it 3 times. We hit it to the east. We hit it to the east and command you go to the east, out away from land. We declare you would do no destruction in any way.
We'll get to this video on the main channel probably, but I wanted to draw the connection. Kat Kerr is not a nobody. People listen to her. People know her. And I will make that case in the video on my main channel later. Hemant Mehta made a good point here. That Kat Kerr seems like she's delusional. She's just making shit up whole cloth. But she's not the only one. Robert Jeffress does the same shit as evidenced by this clip.